Hello and welcome to another episode of Shift Happens Catalyst Conversations. And today I have Amanda with me. She's joining us from UK, London, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, London.
She is Evolvement Coach. So she also knows a lot about transformation and she will also tell you about her transformation, which has not completed yet. And this is also a very good chance to show that transformation is not like something that has a start line and finish line. It's very often an ongoing process as well. So tell me about this transformation that you are right now going through, because this is very beautiful and it's also something that you're using with other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. My journey started about 7 years ago. It was a journey of self-love transformation. And the thing about transformation is that it does take years and it's not just something that happens overnight. It really does take a lot of inner work and also a lot of action with that work as well. And there's really a lot of balance and there's a lot of triggers that people get through life that the universe is showing you where you kind of need to stop and start reflecting and trying to understand what it is that I need to learn right now, what it is that you
Mm.
need to learn right now, because everyone has those moments. And in that decision, it's like, do you continue to go through the same cycles that you're going through? Because we all have power of choice of deciding which direction we're going to go into. Said mine started 7 years ago,
Mm.
specifically at a time where, I'd cut really toxic people out of my life. I was in a toxic situationship as well, and I was left feeling very empty inside.
What was actually the catalyst for you? You said that you started cutting toxic people out of your life, but how did you come to this point that, okay, I need a change. I want to cut these people out. I want to transform.
I was in this really bad toxic cycle with this situationship for about 4 or 5 years. At first, it was kind of thrilling and I fell in love. I fell really hard. It wasn't something that I was kind of expecting. I had given everything to this person, but this person did not want anything more. This person was keeping me on a hook and I was like in a fishing line. And every time they would draw the line off, I would be coming
Mm.
straight there. There would be no question in my mind. But every time I said that I wanted more, it was like, no. And we would then have this parting and we would then go on this full vicious cycle over and over and over again. And I would be in tears. I would literally be in so much pain. And I'd be like, why am I doing this to myself? And I would start seeing other people and stuff like that. But as soon as that person would ring or call or text, I would be there like that.
Yeah,
Was
it sounds like the anxious avoidant attachment
yeah,
style. It's kind of like avoidant, and you were like,
yeah.
yeah.
It really was. It was terrible. And then one day I started seeing someone else, and this
Mm.
person treated me so sweetly that I couldn't remember the last time when someone did that. The part about that was that's when I really realized how messed up in the head I was, and that every time I was just
Mm.
being hooked. So it's like when I became aware of how I was going through this cycle and how this kept. And then when I told him that I was then seeing this other person, he wanted me. And then he had then very cleverly used specific words to hook me back in for us to try,
Mm.
as if he was giving me the real thing. But it was major manipulation at its fine. I was like, okay. I said, you know what? I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. This is something that I want. And I'll let the
Mm.
other guy go because I've wanted this for so long. And so we went away together. We went on this short trip. And then I was a lot harder with boundaries. And he could sense that there was a change in my
Mm.
and stuff like that. I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna go along with this and stuff like that, but thinking, have you actually really changed in any way, shape, or form? And so
Mm.
then when we came back from that trip, I had a nasty fall down the stairs and he had stopped talking to me. I was
Mm.
like in this subconscious level that what he was doing was not right. And
Mm.
so from there. And I also then had to, because one of my other friends at the time didn't like the situation at all and always kept warning me and always was there. But in herself, she was very, very negative person. I had to also cut her out because she didn't have my back at the end of the day. It was just so much negativity. And this was after years and years and years. It wasn't just a friendship that I just cut through.
Oh,
This was a very long time to actually make this decision. When those two sort of went out of my life, I felt so free at first, but I felt so empty and realizing that I'd given all of my love, all of my everything, all of my energy, these full situations that was just not helping me in any way, shape, or form. That's when I knew I had to take a step back. That was a very low period for me, actually, because I'd never felt so kind of empty before in my life, and realizing that I didn't actually like myself or had any love for myself. I'd given it all
mm,
away. Interesting enough, not just to him, but to other people as well, past people as well. A lot of unrequited love and just kind of terrible situations that weren't right for me and
mm.
that I found myself in. And thinking, why did I do this? Like, not having any sort of self-love or self-respect was just kind of really eye-opening.
Yeah.
Because I always thought, like, very naively, right? When you love someone and they like you, that they'll love you back.
Mm.
And if you give more, they'll give you more. Like, they'll give you the same. And that's just not true. It's one of the biggest fallacies. And it should be a lesson that all people get taught
Yeah.
at a
I
young
also
age.
feel that, love shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't be transactional
Yeah,
because it doesn't feel like love anymore. If it's like, I give you this and then you give me that, it's kind of always keeping the score. Some kind of magic is missing. And I feel that through this pain, you kind of realized something similar. And then you started this big journey of self love and transformation. And this has got you here after like many, many years.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm so grateful. Although it was like painful, terrible at the time, I'm so grateful, like genuinely, because if I hadn't gone through what I hadn't gone through and all the pain and the suffering, I wouldn't be where I am today. It's just such a journey, such a journey.
Yeah, any pain, it can be either an obstacle or you can make it your greatest strength. So you take this pain, you transform it, you transform yourself, and you make this pain somehow useful and beneficial. Even if it maybe still hurts at some level, you can now transform the pain. It's like fear and excitement. They're also actually the same thing, for example. So I guess pain and love, some ways, they're kind of the same thing. It's all about your perception. So if you can turn any kind of fear into excitement, like, ooh, I'm not afraid of this thing, I'm excited about what's next. You can also like, okay, yes, I'm not hurt by this pain, I'm growing. And of course, growth also has some pain, but it's a different kind of pain when you're growing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's always something as well that's through the transformation and digging deeper into myself. What you realize when you go through these different things is that there's always another root cause, generally happen within, childhood,
Something
almost
had to
into
happen to
teenagers.
you so you would actually be in this state that you allow all these things to happen to you.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you always have the choice to step out of this situationship, even if it feels like no, it's not possible to step out. You still have the agency, you still have the power to do it. If you decided, okay, I'm gonna step out, but maybe something in your past taught you otherwise. You
Uh,
don't have to share that if you don't want to, but
yeah, no,
you already
absolutely.
like,
I mean, for me, I think I was so lucky as a child in terms of like, I feel very blessed for the family and everything that I was brought up in. And I was always given so much love. I was
hmm,
always given so much love because I always gave so much love to them. I always think that that was the natural way for me. And therefore, it's not a kind of trauma, but it is more like a kind of a naivety. I'm like sheltered within a space where you're not
hmm.
prepared for the real world of the way specific people act and think. I
You
do,
had actually had this innocence because you were always giving the
yeah,
love and receiving it, and you thought, okay, I'm just gonna continue. but maybe life wanted you to have this lesson that, okay, it's not always that easy. Sometimes it gets to be painful. And maybe that was actually life pointing you towards self love more, because I guess if you were giving so much love all the time, were you actually loving yourself when you were younger? So
Oh,
you were always giving it outside. So life gave you this lesson, this relationship to make you learn, okay, now it's time to love yourself as well.
100%. And it's definitely been a huge part of my journey. Absolutely. Because I
Mm,
always thought that I was kind of made to love everyone. The world is in desperate need for love on
yeah.
so many different levels. Even when I was younger, I could see that the world needs so much love. I wanted to be able to give it because I do have so much love. I have a big, big heart. And I can give love really unconditionally. I think that's one of the things that I'm so grateful for through all of this whole experience is regardless of how much I've gone through and through my transformation of self-love, is that I'm still able to give. And like,
Mm,
but with this time, it's more boundaries, right? It's more understanding the truth of the situations that are in front of me and not being blindsided by other people's situation trauma. If I don't have the energy to give to someone at that stage, I don't need to do that. Like turning around and being like, no, hang on a second. Look, I can give you what I can give you at this moment in time. I need to take a step back because right now I need to look after myself. And that's no reflection on them, but that's like me first.
From what you said, it sounds like setting
Yes.
boundaries is an act of self-love. And also when you feel that you don't have enough energy to give, you don't give, because I guess you're the first person who you need to give love to.
Yes, absolutely. Because if I don't have the love to myself, then I don't have the love to give, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we don't truly love ourselves and look after ourselves, then who are we to share or be able to give to people, right? Like
Yeah.
the we don't have the capacity. That's okay. It's okay to turn around and say, I don't have capacity today for this, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's certain situations and things where we have to get stuff done, and there's certain things that we have to then prioritize to be able to get things done. But at the end of the day, unless we are able to give to ourselves, we are in no fit state to give to anyone else.
Yeah. So how do you nurture this self-love in yourself? How do you grow it? How do you recharge your batteries?
Yeah, when I first started, and I was reflecting over this over the last few days actually, it's a very low because when you look at people where they are projecting their insecurities, you can tell that they don't actually really love themselves. Come across as being very kind of bold and brass and jokey and all of these things, and are trying to put other people down to kind of make themselves feel good when those things are happening. It's generally because they're not feeling great about themselves and they're in this really bad cycle.
Mm.
It's because people don't really like themselves. That was one of the things that I discovered, that I didn't really like myself. Like,
It's like if you don't even like, how can you love?
exactly, exactly. And so I spent the mornings, first of all, I came up with this morning routine for myself where I would wake up in the morning, and the first thing that I would do without doing anything else, I would spend 20 minutes. And this 20 minutes, I would spend 5 minutes just breathing, just allowing
Mm.
myself to sit and just breathe. And then the next 5 minutes, I would sit in gratitude and I would be like, what am I grateful for? And I would really be like sitting there and grateful, but also not just thinking it, but saying it out loud
Mm.
and finding at least three things that I was grateful for in my life. And the next 5 minutes, I would then do the same again, but for affirmations. Right. Okay. So if you don't like about yourself, there must be something that you like about yourself. So what are the things that you like about yourself? Especially with after affirmations, you need to choose things that are different, and you need to
Mm.
say them out loud and say them and repeat them again and again and again and again and again until you mean them. Unless you actually mean what you say through your affirmations, affirmations mean nothing. unless you actually put meaning behind
Yeah, it's
them.
just empty
It's
words.
just empty words. You're just saying stuff, right? But the more you say something, the more the universe reflects back to you things that are in your reality. So you are kind of almost tricking your subconscious and your mind to kind of like these things.
Mm.
The final 5 minutes I would spend on intentions for the day. Are my intentions to get out of this day? Am I, rolling about my day? What do I want to get from today? Even if it's
Mhm.
like a work day, even if it's like kind of thing. What is the one thing that I would really like to see myself do for today? That was my morning routine. And then when I would
Mm.
walk to work as well, I created like other things that I would be like, okay, so when you don't like yourself, who is it that you do like? There's someone in this world that you like, that you would like look up to. Who would it be?
Mm.
Is a superhero or like some sort of character that you could imagine yourself being and embody that kind of person, embody that person's walk. So
Mm.
for me, I had a very few people. I would make it fun for myself. I
Mm.
choose different characters from movies and I would just kind of like walking down the street going like walking. I'm trying to think of an example actually like Superwoman or something like that, going down pretending I'm Superwoman.
Just going to save the world, right?
Yeah, I'm going to save the world, exactly. That's the persona that I'm coming like across because if you don't like yourself, what is it? Like building yourself up is still really important and how you go about doing that until you discover things about yourself that you actually like
Mm.
and kind of building up really, really slowly because as we spoke about, it takes time. It takes time to really truly kind of the words that you're saying to yourself.
Mm.
It's the meaning and it's the frequency in which the authenticity that you're giving to yourself. If you're like,
Mm.
yeah, 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 I really like myself. No, that's not going to help you. You have to really sit back and be like, who am I? Discovering who you are. And who you are is this beautiful multi being, but
Mhm.
realizing that you're a multifaceted being, that you can't fit into one box or one persona. You're a beautiful human being with this beautiful light and soul. And that takes real courage to discover and really be able to tap into and then be able to share with the world, right?
Yeah, basically, if you are a multifaceted being and you acknowledge this, there must be at least one thing about this multifaceted being that you like. It's
Yeah,
like tricking your
absolutely.
mind into this.
Absolutely. And I think
Yeah.
it's because we go through life and situations where people put us down, right? Certain people kind of, we feel overshadowed and we feel like we're overlooked. But
Mm.
you then forget that you yourself have a voice. And
Yeah.
no, that doesn't mean to say that you go in and you can overtake other people. That's not the way it is. But it just
Mhm.
means that when you have something to say, you can absolutely say it. You have to give yourself permission to be like, okay, I'm just going to say it. You can't think about so much of the consequences because I guarantee you that 10 other people are thinking the same thing. You are the one that has the courage to actually stand up and be able to say it because you have great ideas. You have to realize the power of your own mind. But it does take a lot of courage. It's not something like stepping on other people's toes. They don't like stepping and having confrontation and things like that. And I'm not saying about having confrontation. Opening a dialogue allows for better result because
Mhm.
when you have an open dialogue, we're then able to have that collaboration together because everyone's perspective matters. And when you look at
Mhm.
everyone's perspectives together, you then create something that's really beautiful, but not from a place of ego, but from a place of true collaboration and true light.
So basically, embodying this superhero version of yourself and opening up a dialogue with other people, these were some of the ways that you used to get over these blocks and limiting beliefs, the stories that you had been telling yourself about yourself. Kind of like writing, rewriting, rewiring your stories and creating a better version. Oh, I'm the superwoman walking to work. It's kind of like starting to build a new version of yourself. Many ways how to get over the limited beliefs. And for you, it sounds like it was something that was a continuous process, like
Yeah, absolutely.
everyday practice, routine.
Yes, it's definitely down to routine. Routine's a huge part of it. It really is. I mean, other things that I did were self-development books, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, classic
Yeah.
book. There's others as well. When I started building up that confidence in myself, I then started to learn standards for myself of what I wanted in my
Mm.
next partner. I'd never given standards before, and it was like a new kind of like adventure for me. Very curious about this because I went onto like a Matthew Hussey course, and I also was reading Steve Harvey, and I was reading other Matthew Hussey books, and they're brilliant because I didn't know how men felt thought, right? From one angle, I knew
Mm.
how men think in terms of like all of that sexual aspect, in terms of like how to date. Dating is an art within itself to actually give them eye contact, to allow them to be able to come over to you and smile. It's very small, subtle cues to learning to
Mm.
kind of catch someone's eye and getting them to approach. Yeah, it's such an interesting psychology.
Mm.
Once I'd done all these things, I then started going on dates again, and it was so interesting because every
Wow.
date that I went on, there was something that was not up to the
I love
standards.
this word, standards.
Yeah,
It's not about
standards.
okay, it's not about the characteristics, it's standards.
Absolutely.
Quality control. Otherwise you're not getting into my life. Nope.
It's so true because just the little things, it's like something like where say something that they're going to do
Mhm.
and they don't do it. It can be that small and that simple. As soon as they don't hit it, it's like, boom, bye, sorry, no.
Yeah, that's integrity. That's also one of my red flags and triggers. Somebody says that, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna do that," and then they just forget and they don't do it, even if it's not for me. Even if they say that they will do something for themselves, I don't know, start an exercise routine, whatever, and then they don't do it. I'm like, you don't keep your promises. You don't go through with things. It's like, nope,
Yeah,
nope. I don't want that kind of person in my life. Not
yeah.
close.
These 7 first dates with not the one
Mm.
person, but every guy been until I met my, and it was like, I mean, when it came to my ex, it was unbelievable. It was something that I'd never ever experienced before because he met all of the standards. And I was like, well, okay, this is new. This is really, really nice. But I remember one of the guys that I'd gone out with, like on the first kind of date with, and we were on the phone like the sort of day before or something. We had this great conversation, and I thought, oh yeah, it's all going well, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
But he turned up to the date absolutely still reeking of alcohol from the night before and looking really grungy and thinking that because he was like super tall and that he was like this arrogant, confident person. And he thought he was the bee's knee. He thought that this would impress me in so many different levels. And I was just so unimpressed.
Do you think he had like very high level of self-love or he had like unawareness of himself?
He was clearly from some sort of aristocracy because he kept referring to his mother as the and I was like, who
Mm.
refers to their mother as the just call her your mother. She's just your mum. It's like
Mhm.
you telling me that and telling me that you have money is not, it doesn't impress me. I'm sorry. It's not something that I'm thinking that you're like, he didn't ask me about me. He was all about him.
Mm.
And that was the part as well. I have nothing against people with money and stuff like that, but I have
Yeah.
a problem with people trying to show off as if it's like something that's great characteristic. If
It's
you're,
kind of like
yeah,
radical self-love, the extreme of that.
oh,
So you
absolutely, of
actually went into this healthy self-love. So self-love, it can also be healthy and unhealthy
course,
because if it doesn't consider other people, it can be very crushing other
yeah,
people.
yeah, absolutely. Um, and he just came across very sleazy, you know. And at the end, it was as if he'd leaned in to kiss me, and he just kind of like would put his arm around my back and then down to my bum and not really kiss me. And I was just like, dude, no. On so many different levels, if that was me a few years ago, I would have turned around and probably been like, yay, this is fun, whatever. I'm just gonna roll with the flow. No, there was nothing that like there was no promise. He was just
Mm.
looking for kicks and I wasn't gonna give it to him. So yeah, that ended there. But I was
Yeah.
nah, this
Because
isn't for
actually, I
me.
guess he didn't actually have self-love. He still wanted your validation. Oh my God. I said touches. Did you hear? Did you know? Like he
Yeah.
wanted you to say, yes, this is awesome. This is awesome. Because maybe he tried to appear like he was confident, but he needed external validation that, yeah, it's so cool that you have all these things.
True. It's very true.
And you got out of all of this because you had better standards already. You were already at some point on the transformation of self love.
Yeah, I mean, when I finally met my ex, who I would still consider as like a kind of soulmate connection, unfortunately, it was just very wrong timing. But even nothing is wrong. It's weird because it was never basically he was, it was very kind of, how do I describe it? I'm a big musical theater person, right? And, it was like singing songs together. It was 7-hour dates. It was the adventure. We just met well together. I ended up falling for him. One of the things that I had not learned at that point was because of one of our dates and our like second or third, he told me about his ex, and he was with her for 7 years. They were like Romeo and Juliet. They were like everything was
Oh.
ingrained, and he's very kind of this pure soul. It wasn't till months down the line that I realized and he realized that he was still in love with her in some way. He was still very
Oh.
attached to her. He has never gone back to her. It was never like that. He just needed time for himself. He was still healing and repairing from that. But I had already fallen in love with him. So I was like, I'm just going to wait it out. I'm just going to
Mhm.
give him the time that he needs and just wait it out. We became really good friends in that relationship, which is why it lasted for so long, because also we went through lockdown together. It was such a beautiful kind of friendship within the relationship. At the same time, there was no relationship. It just felt it was me on my own. And I felt lonely within that place. But I'm one of these people that, like, I give my everything until there's nothing left to give.
Mm.
And so I waited for so long. And that was one of my biggest kind of, I don't regret it, but it was one of my huge lessons to learn that someone is in that position and they're still healing. It's better just to leave because
Mhm.
it's better to exit. There's nothing you can do about it. You don't know how long it takes for someone to heal from their previous relationship, but it makes
Mhm.
me very cautious about when I go into another relationship again, like, who are the females in this person's life?
Mm.
And another story as well, moving forward from that, then triggered more self love because I then had to look at like other inner child wounds. And so I had a lot of more self love, more self reflection to work. And it was the unrequited love, this kind of going, I am loved, like knowing because I love myself and really kind of digging into deep into that.
It feels like for you very often other people have been the catalysts for new layer of change. So the
Yes.
initial transformation and then like new layer and new layer, new layer. They're kind of like showing you something, or like maybe they're just starting it and then you go and you work on yourself and you do the actual work. They just start.
Yeah, yeah, it's true because everyone is, if you treat everyone like everyone is in your life for a reason, and then you come to understand what that reason is, you learn so much faster. And you grow so much more.
Mm-hmm.
And because what your reflection of yourself inside is always what's happening outside. So the universe is always reflecting back to you what you're reflecting in. And that's why people say you're always creating your own reality because you are. You're creating your own reality. So now that I know this, what reality am I creating next, right? What is it that I want to move and transmute, like move past and move forward to? Because we have the power to do that. We just have to know that we do have the power, be able to.
Yeah, you are actively choosing the life you want to have, and if you don't have it yet, you will just build it for yourself. So it sounds like you have a lot of inner power, even with all the pain and lessons that have come to your way. You still find some kind of courage to move forward. Is
Like,
it kind of like optimism to go forward because you know that okay, it can be better?
I mean, I've always been a positive person. I've always looked at things on the bright side, and it's definitely a big part of that. There's always some sort of silver lining. There's always a
Mm.
lesson, and pain is our biggest teacher. But if you allow yourself to stay in the pain, you're only going to make yourself worse. The longer you stay, and I think one of the biggest things is people sometimes become too comfortable with the pain because they don't think that they have the courage to grow and move forward or that there's going to be opportunities. I'm like an eternal optimist because I'm all about Peter Pan and Alice in Wonderland. Imagination
Hmm.
and creativity is the key to brightening up your life, you know. It's out of society's conditioning and allowing yourself to not go by the rules and care about what anyone else thinks. Not about them. Whose life are you leading? Are you leading your life or are you leading their life, right? Because no one can walk in your shoes. Everyone goes through pain in their own way, and it's tragic. It's really tragic because when someone comes to me and I can feel their pain, like, you know, I'm quite, it's like really strong. I can see the situation and I can see their pain and what they're going through. I can tell them the truth because I'm not emotionally involved. But at the
Mm.
same time, I still understand how hard it is. And I say this, I know this is really painful for you. I know how painful this is for you. But there's going to come a time at a crossroads in the future if you don't choose now to go and look after yourself. You know, something else is going to like pop you into a direction where eventually you're going to have to move out of that space because you're
Mm.
not meant to be in that pain.
So that's why you're now also helping other people as an
Yes.
involvement coach, right?
Yeah.
So you know about how this pain feels like, you know how to handle this, you have the methods and the tools, and you decided, okay, I can feel other people's pain so well that I can actually guide them.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I've been guiding my friends for years.
Mm.
Like, also, they help me as well, for sure. I've always been that person that is able to see all of the angles, able to understand exactly what they need, hold space for them to allow them to grow and also allow them to have that self discovery.
Mm.
Because although I can say to them and although they will feel better and they will listen to me, it will take time for them to filter through for what it means to them. Because
Mm.
essentially, even if I'm there, it doesn't matter. The change always comes within. I can only guide them. It's them that has to do the work. That's essentially what a coach's job is there to, you know, guide and provide, like yourself, like that clarity, providing that extra sort of like outsider perspective where it's like you're not emotionally involved in any of their things, so you can turn around and you can say and you can pinpoint things that they might want to start looking at and start considering. But then you start getting the limiting beliefs and those things like coming up where they start going, oh, no, 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 I don't need that.
But yeah, they still need us to point them out because they might not see them themselves. Even the limiting beliefs can be like so big part of your identity. You've always been maybe the person who's like, I can't, or I don't have time for this, I'm very busy.
Sure.
So it's already part of you and it's familiar. So even if you say that, okay, I want a big change, I want to be amazing, something in you, like deeply rooted, is like not really allowing you to go.
Absolutely, 100%, because it's the resistance, that resistance, right? Where it's like you want to change, but you're like, can't.
Kind of want it, but blah 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 blah. Excuse, excuse, excuse.
Yeah. But this is why I think as well your why you want to
Hmm.
make the changes in your life is the really biggest factor, right?
Oh yeah.
Why do you want it? Because if your why isn't strong enough, you ain't going to change, right? Like if the pain almost isn't strong enough, if you're not suffering enough, and I know that's so sad to say, but if you're not suffering enough, you won't change.
Yeah, some
Because
people really need to like suffer a lot to start a change, but some people they are maybe like, oh, I just want to be better. I want to see what else is possible.
yeah,
So I feel that change can have two different catalysts. One is like, okay, this extreme pain, and you want to get out of this pain, and the other one is like, ooh, I want to see the next level of me. So it's either like this negative or positive impact, but either of them can be the catalyst.
that's a really good point because when you're talking about just change in general, I've always been a goal orientated person.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, since I was younger, I have made other transformations, but it's always been towards my goals and facing my fears and things like that. but never to this like kind of depth. Like this self-love journey is taking me.
Mm.
This is a whole different level of involvement because of
Mm.
that suffering. That's why it probably feels like the biggest transformation to me, because of all the suffering. Whereas the other ones were transformational, but they were just goals that I was going after and things that I wanted,
Mhm.
right? And I had strong whys for those, and I was able to accomplish them because of that.
I feel that the why
Important.
is super important.
Mm.
So my coaching basically has like only 3 sessions because I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna be the catalyst, the activator, the initiator. I'm not gonna hold your hand.
Yeah.
If you need any hand holding, I know so many amazing coaches who can come and hold your hand because also my network is quite big and I really know amazing people.
Yeah.
So the first session usually is about, okay, what do you want? What's exactly the thing
Mm.
that you want? Like getting very specific. And also in the first session, we go into the why. So basically,
Mm.
I'll ask at least 7 times because it's not the first answer. There's always like some next layer coming up. So if somebody says, "Oh, I don't know, I want lose 5 kilograms." Okay. So what happens to you if you lose the 5 kilograms? How is your life different? Oh, I'm gonna be more confident. And if you're more confident, maybe you perform better at work, then you get a promotion. This brings you more money. With this money, you can go and travel and have the freedom. And, all these different things happen because of this one thing. But actually, the core reason is somewhere deeper. It's not just about the first answer. So
Yeah.
that's why for me it's very important to dig into the reasons and get to the root.
Yes, 100%. It's always the root. That root
Yeah.
is so important. The root is effort. The root is in everything. When you reach someone's core, it's such a beautiful journey to watch someone go through. Like when you really reach the heart of them, and then you see the change and how their life then changes and how they then change and then how they're able to move forwards.
Maybe, the first answer, okay, lose 5 kilos. It doesn't sound sexy and exciting enough. But if after these many whys, there also comes something like, oh, I get to travel the world. Okay, this sounds exciting enough. I'm gonna do the workout.
Yeah.
I'm gonna change my nutrition. Or oh, I'm gonna meet the love of my life because I will be more confident in everything. Okay. Then I want it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so interesting that you say that, because one of the things that I'm also going through recently as well is building on sort of my self-respect or my self-love, right? But self-respect is something, respecting different parts of yourself for you. It comes hand in hand with self-love, but self-respect is something that allows you to kind of, where you believe in yourself. You've earned your place for where you are. You know, it's like really tricky period that I'm in right now. I'm actually in a very
Hmm.
strange transitional, and just when you're talking about what is my why for how I'm moving kind of forward,
Hmm.
it's so interesting because I found it the other week and I was just like, yes, like I can do this. And I needed that. I needed to go through. And that's the thing, the journey never stops. There's always so many layers. So if you think that, not specifically you, but I mean like everyone, if you think that you can't make a change, you can make a change. It's just finding out your why. The why is so,
Mhm.
so important.
It's always the next level. It's
Always the
like
next.
when you make your first million, you most likely will also want to make 10 millions and then a billion maybe. So it's always like growth. So when you get to this new level of yourself, you are also another kind of person. You
Yeah.
have evolved and maybe now you want different things. Of course, you are also happy with the things that you have, with the personality that you have, with the people that you have in your life. But still you're like, oh, there's opportunity to grow even more.
That's the thing for me. We never stop evolving. I think I've gone through about 4 versions of myself easily over the last couple of years, because the transformation just keeps happening and those different layers just keep getting exposed. And I'm so here for that. And don't get me wrong, it is painful. But the thing about
Mhm.
progress in anything is that it's not linear, right? It goes up, down, up, down, up, down. Understanding that you are human, understanding that you are going through transition periods, that you are transforming. Transformation is painful. And
It is.
otherwise is like that, like in the cocoon, right? Where you're a
Mhm.
caterpillar and you're trying to come out and the movement, you're in that period of like, and then you're
Mm,
ready to break free. That whole thing is so painful. But
yeah.
that's when you begin to start flying, right? When you break free of the cocoon and you go through all the pain, then ready to fly. And so
Mm,
it's like just learning which stage you're at, right? And knowing kind of, right, that there is going to be light at the end of the tunnel. It's just that you need to dig a little bit deeper to understand where you're at, what actions you need to take, what plan you need to make, what strategy you're going to make as well. Because when you
mhm,
try to go for too many things as well, like when you go for too many things, you're not going to have a clear focus. If you're not focused enough,
mhm.
you're not going to be able to discipline yourself to be able to do the things that you need to be able to. So there's so many like
Yeah.
various factors that are involved when you're trying to make any one change because change isn't easy.
And that's why you also call yourself evolvement coach. There's always like next layer of evolution coming up. We are always evolving, or if you're not evolving, we are potentially dead.
Yeah, exactly. You just kind of like stuck where you are, right? You're in a place of limbo. And I understand that place of limbo where you feel like there's no way out or there's not a direction that you want to move in. But sometimes, it's like, yes, you're in limbo, but you got to think about where's the light? What can you see? What is something that you
Mhm,
want to see? What's the change you want to make? And then when you focus in on that change, or you focus in on the envisioning where your life could be, and you start creating positivity of being back in gratitude, back in like when
mhm,
you get out of those habits. Because if you're not in gratitude for where you are now, you're not also gonna feel good about yourself or feel good about where you are. So about having that time to just kind of like be in the now, but thinking about envisioning the future and then again,
mhm,
watching the universe present opportunities to you. Because if you're in a place of real sadness, you're not allowing the universe to open up to you. Like, because our thoughts are so, so powerful. And when you're focused then on the negative instead of the positive, you're not going to be able to change them. So
mm.
the mindset of how we go through all of this is so, so important as well.
Agree, both mindset and action.
Yeah,
So that's why my first session is always about what you want and why. Second one is about limiting beliefs and blocks because you can't go forward if you're at the same time trying to stay stuck. And the last one is about action. Okay, what's the power move? How can you start going today? So it's all coming together, like the mindset, knowing your why, knowing what you want, and actually doing something about it. So this is the magic formula that makes everything happen. And like I
absolutely.
said, it's constant process, learning and unlearning and whatever. There's a lot of stuff
Absolutely.
happening.
I mean, there's something when you're taking action and you're having an absolute terrible day and you're like, I don't
Mm,
want to do this because sometimes it's okay to take some time out. It's okay to allow yourself to breathe. Then
mhm,
coming back straight back to that understanding, being accountable for yourself, being accountable. Is there someone in your life, like a coach, that can hold
mhm.
you to account? How are you doing? How can I help? What problem do you need me to solve? Because I can
Mm.
help with those things, but I can't help you if you can't open up to me. It's like,
So is this how you work? You like keep people accountable for a longer period? You kind of hold the hand a bit, maybe?
I guess a little bit. I think everyone's different depending on what their needs. Definitely accountability is definitely one, but it's allowing everyone's different. So for me, it's intuitively finding what it is, the core of what they need to get to that's blocking them from
Mm,
doing the things that they want or navigating situations that are possibly grey. The grey situations. I like the grey situations, but just because I see it one way doesn't mean to say they're going to see it that way as well. And I'm still discovering my journey as well through this and through helping people. But I don't have a
mm.
specific set structure yet. Everything is really down to the kind of individual. I do like yours, and I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah, so you also adapt a lot to the person.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
Mhm.
everything's about because I can I can do the things. Like, I can set structures and plans in place and stuff like that. But if that person isn't really going to take the time to kind of do it and hold themselves to it, there's really no point. It has to come from them. We can guide the horse to the watering hole, but we can't make them drink it. You know, I can guide you there and I can show you and help you make a plan and I can, but you have to discover for yourself. You have to actually
Mm.
be able to do the work and understand what work are you actually willing to do. And I think for me, that's the biggest thing, because if someone doesn't want to do the work, then I can't work with them because they're not going to help themselves. And then it's going to reflect badly on me. So why would we work with people that don't want to actually help themselves? They say they want help, but they don't really, you know? You can only help those that actually want to help themselves and make a change.
Also, there's like a lot of self-love when you choose your clients because like, okay, can I help that person or will I be like I
Yeah.
can't work with
Yeah, I think for me, that's where the first meeting comes in. It's me understanding if they're actually willing to kind of listen and how much do they actually want
them?
it, right? I think, and getting to know who they are, and
Hmm.
how they function. I think as well, there can be different clashes within personalities and things like that as well. Another thing to be kind of mindful of for me is, you know, just because I work well with one person doesn't mean to say I'm going to work
Hmm.
well with another person. But that doesn't mean to help. It's just being wise enough and using your discernment to understand
Hmm.
whether they can or not.
If people want to work with you, where can they find you?
Now, if they want to work with me, or yeah, they can find me on my Instagram, Evolvement underscore unlocked. They can find me there
Mhm.
and they can just DM me and I can help them. Ask me if you want to get on a consultation call. We will get that sorted.
Unlocked,
Yeah,
yeah.
Evolvement
All
Unlocked.
the focus is on evolvement.
Yes, everything is evolvement. It's endless. I think that's the beautiful thing about us as human beings. We're ever evolving beings. If we constrain ourselves to the way that society conditions us, we'll never be happy. We can only be happy with what we create for ourselves.
Yeah. So you take the power into your own hands as a person who wants to evolve.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's really key, especially moving through the world with the way it is. If you want to be able to help other people as well. Eh, we are responsible for our own lives, but we're also
Mhm.
responsible as a collective to work better together. And this is the way we're moving. We're moving towards more community. We're recognizing that community is where it's at, understanding who our tribe is, understanding like you can have love, you can have trust, you can have all of these things. You can have all the things that you ever wanted to unlock yourself and unlock your kind of potential. Because if you don't learn to love yourself, you will never be happy in any relationship.
Mm.
That's just fact. You're never going to be happy with any relationship, any friendship, any family relationship, any partnership, workship. You're never going to be happy because you're always going to be
Mhm.
projecting on them the things that you need to work on.
Yeah,
And
it feels like you would have such a big hole inside yourself that nobody else can feel it. And if you are not feeling it yourself, it's just
yeah,
expanding all the time. And
exactly.
at some point, other people can't do it for you.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the thing, and they think that other people are meant to give it to them. And even when you are in a relationship, you never stop working on yourself. Say that there's three people within a relationship, you know? It's like it's the royal we, right? The two people, the
Mhm.
we. Then there's you, yourself, and then there's me, myself, and I. And those are the three relationships. And they all have to be maintained. They can't be
Mhm.
maintained all the time. But it's like taking what is priority, and it's like this shit where you just go through all of these different kind of layers and waves of like what is needed right now. But if you don't love yourself, you're not able to give yourself to another human being. No way.
Yeah, and talking about communities, we also met through a community,
Yes,
actually
so
real life.
happy.
And I'm not even the same city, but I was visiting because I know Sadiq who has this How to Human community, and we connected in the community. And you never know what kind of collaborations, connections can happen if you are inside a community.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
wonderful.
It's so true. And I'm just so grateful to Sadiq for creating this community. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
I
What a
was
guy.
there just once. I was like in November, I visited London, and I hadn't even seen him before in real life because he was just this guy who wrote to me on LinkedIn,
Yeah,
and then we were in a call for 3 hours, which is crazy. But sometimes people just connect at very random ways, and you never know what can happen, what kind of connection can be built from this. So I'm very grateful that we kind of got together for this conversation about evolvement and self-love, because self-love, that's the biggest transformation. If a person doesn't love themselves, how can you evolve any further?
it's so, so true. And thank you so much for responding in the group chat when you did, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here and we wouldn't be having this conversation. And it's so beautiful. And just, yeah, thank you for all the work that you're doing. And I'm so excited to see your journey and where you at and your transformation stage. How are you getting?
I'm transforming into new kind of business model. I've been coaching for years now, but now it's like a clarity and catalyst and using my power and superpower. I'm like, oh, this feels so nice. And that's also the reason why I have this podcast, because it's kind of like connected to shift and catalyst and change. I just want to talk about it more and more and more, and also explore the different layers of change.
Yeah.
Because some people have like stories about writing a book. I also talked to 77-year-old woman who just became an influencer, because why the hell not after retirement become an influencer? And
But
now we're talking about self-love. So there are so many different journeys, and I'm so excited to see and witness and share these stories with other people as well. So for me, that's also kind of like filling my own cup,
yeah.
feeling my own inspiration and motivation to keep doing what I do.
That's phenomenal. Like, it's so, so good. That's amazing. I can't wait to see it grow more and more and more. So amazing. 70 years old. And I love that. I love that so much because
Why not?
it just shows you it doesn't matter how old you are. So,
Yeah, you can start something completely new.
absolutely.
And she also said that she felt invisible her whole life. After retirement, she like finally got out of the cocoon. I'm like, oh my god. She doesn't have this excuse that, oh my god, I'm too old. She's just, okay, I'm
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny also you mentioned the book. I'm also writing a book as well. I've written
Hmm,
one draft and I'm writing a whole second draft. And it's about the journey of self-love. Like,
very much needed.
yeah, in much more detail.
Hmm,
But I'm writing it as a novel, so it'll be fun to
wow.
read when it eventually comes out.
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
for
much.
sharing this little bit painful, no, not little bit, lots of painful story. Thank you for opening up. I
Yeah,
guess if you do it, people are also encouraged to open up more. So somebody has to go first.
yeah, absolutely. One thing I will add to that on the pain comment that I've transmuted my pain. I have let go a
Mm,
lot of my pain, so I'm able to talk about this very easily. It's in the past. It
mhm,
stays where it is, but it also serves as long lessons. Yeah, I've transmuted a lot of that pain. It can leave the
mm.
body. We have the power to transmute our own pain.
Yeah, somehow it got in, so it can also get out.
Absolutely. It's like the water in the glass analogy, where you
Yeah.
pour water into something. That's the self love, right? And then
Mm,
outpouring all this dirty water, and you've seen
mm,
it. You're going to make a hell
yeah.
of a lot of mess, right? Like, that's the thing to be wary of is when you're doing your self love journey, it's going to be messy because you're going to
Mhm.
impact the environment around you with all of the stuff that you are letting go of.
Mm,
Because then there's going to be people that are no longer going to be on the same vibe as you. You're up leveling in your life
mhm.
and you're changing and you're no longer putting yourself into positions where you're being undermined. You fully respect and love yourself. So just wanted to say that last thing. And thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank